Okay, hello dear student. How are you? Hope you're safe and fine in this pandemic situation. Yeah, I'm also Alhamdulillah. So my name is Nukulur Rahman. I'm the associate professor of CSC department. Okay, so welcome to real life after a long time. So in this semester, we're going to discuss about interfacing, computer interfacing. Okay, the course code is CSC 360. So interfacing, what is interfacing and why it is important? In last class, Sakib also explained very nicely. Interfacing is the interfacing between any two things. Like even I am Bangladeshi, interfacing with a Bangladeshi with a Japanese guy. So we need a translator, so he can be an interface. Okay. Or we can have some other kind of interface, like machine, like for computing system, we also need some interfacing. Like we have keyboard, but to interface with the processor, we need some interfacing unit. Okay, so nowadays, everywhere people are discussing about IoT, people are discussing about robotics, automation, and people are saying everything will be connected with the internet, even not only human being, but also some other animals. Okay, so there are some eagles, there are some other turtles. They already embedded some chip on there, and where they're traveling, it also can be found. Okay, so doing everything, we need some interfacing unit. Okay, so interfacing is very, very important. So on this semester, on this course, we're going to discuss about it. Okay, so you can understand by this figure. You can see a human being, a wheelchair, even a bed, everything, even a tongue, everything is embedded with a central system. Okay, here we are showing with a mobile phone. Yeah, in future it will become like a mobile phone, but actually it's a backend server. So for doing this thing everywhere, in every point, we need interfacing device. Okay, so that's why this course is too important. Please, so students, please keep in touch very tightly with us, and please take care of these classes, because we are going to discuss about some even advanced feature like HCI, BCI, like brain computer interfacing, like these things. So please be considered on this class. Okay, so this is a very, very important figure for computer architecture. Okay, so in computing system, for a computer, inside a computer, inside a CPU computer, we have a CPU, and inside the CPU there are mainly three things. One is ALU, one is CU, another one is registers. Almost all of you may know it. Okay, so ALU is for arithmetical logical task. Okay, and CU for controlling. Like even in this classroom, I also have to control students. Okay, or even in this house, I have to control my family. So you need a controller. Even for the university, we need also a register office to control everything. Okay, so we need a controller, and also for doing any kind of task, we need some registers. Like if I tell you to calculate a math, like 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 equals what? You cannot say, because you couldn't keep in your mind. You couldn't remember. I didn't give you enough time to remember it. Okay, so to remember this thing, we need a register. For computing system, also we need that kind of memory unit, very small memory unit inside the CPU, which is called register. And then all this thing is connected with the main memory. You can see it's surrounded by the main memory, which is called RAM, or RAM and ROM. Okay, ROM, read-only memory, where actually the main program, that means the very little initial program, are copied inside the ROM. Okay, this is the same for the human being. When we came in this world, we also came with very little memory, like we knew how to cry, we knew how to make the toilet, and we know how, if my mother feeds something, how to take it inside us. Okay, so, or even if I feel lonely, how to cry, this thing. We didn't do all this job when we were in the womb of my mother. Okay, so we are doing when we came to the world. Okay, so in the same way, when a computer came with some basic program, which is called BIOS. We also called it, BIOS. Okay, basic input output systems. Okay, so in this system, it can understand the CD-ROM. It can understand the hard disk, how big the hard disk is. It can understand the keyboard is connected or not. It can understand whether the is connected, mouse is connected or not. whether the monitor is connected or not, it can understand everything. Okay, by understanding this thing, it's handovering the information to the operating system. Okay, so without having this very basic memory, very basic program, a computer cannot be run. So that program is called ROM. Okay, and ROM is another primary memory, because whatever we are running on a computer, first it have to be uploaded on the RAM. Okay, even for this PPT slide or the system, the software we used for making this video, that when we run that software, first it came into the RAM. Okay, even when I process this video or when I am writing of my CV or preparing this slide, this information was also inside the RAM only. Okay, when I clicked on the save button, then it saved into the secondary storage that is shown in the bottom. Okay, so whatever we are doing inside a RAM. So without having a RAM, a computer cannot work. You know, when you bought a computer, without having a keyboard, without having a mouse, without having a even hard drive, your computer can work. But when without having a RAM, please open the RAM from the RAM slot, you will see computer will not work. Okay, so because these are the primary memories, that's why these are the primary memories. Okay, and then of course peripheral devices for input and output peripheral devices, and of course there are some secondary storage and communication module. But for connecting every external devices, we need this kind of interfacing unit. Okay, so in this class, in this semester, at the beginning we will discuss about interfacing IC 82C55. And then we will also discuss other issues of interfacing and different type of input-output devices. This is the hardware interfacing architecture. Looks complex, but not really. Take a look. This is the same figure of the previous one. Okay, you can see the processor is in the center, but I have divided into two parts. One is high-end processor, high-end processing computer, and on bottom part, I said low-end processor, or you can say microcontroller, or just a controller IC. Okay, and at the left, you can see the high-end input device like keyboard. Keyboard is a high-end input device because this is not just like a switch. Okay, this is not just like a other very simple input device. No, there are a number of switches are there, and there is a controller inside the keyboard controller, and then it's communicating with the processor, with the system software. Okay, for doing this thing, of course it needs some interfacing. Okay, so for high-end input device, we need interfacing device. In the same way, for giving the output to the screen or to the speaker, we also need some interfacing device. Okay, but at the bottom, it says sensor input or sensor network. That means we can also have some different kind of sensor input, because you know this world is changing. So everything will be connected with the computing system. So everything will generate some information. So that information will come through the sensor. Okay. So when we will use the sensor, this is also an interfacing unit, but I am calling it as a calibration circuit, because different type of sensors are giving different type of output. Like some sensors giving us resistance, some sensors giving us some voltage, some sensors are giving us some current. Okay, so we have to make a calibration circuit so that our system can understand. Our system understand what? 0 and 1. Okay, binary number. Okay, so we have to convert this sensing input to the binary number, or the number that computer can understand. Okay, so yes, I am calling this an interfacing device, but I am calling it here as calibration circuit. Calibration also, there are this is a hardware. I am talking about hardware calibration, but software calibration is also required, because you can see in Bangladesh we are understanding the temperature by Celsius, but in USA they are understanding the temperature by Fahrenheit. Okay, so software calibration is required. So that kind of calibration can be included in the calibration circuit. Okay, and for low-level devices, like for control system, like machine automation or like remote control or this kind of devices, okay, we need driver or controller. Okay, to drive a motor or to drive a LED, like here is a laser. Okay, so we need some driving circuit. That's why I am, instead of calling it interfacing, it's an interfacing unit, but instead of calling it as an interfacing unit, I'm calling it as a driver or controller. Okay, and on right side you can see display, sound, and motor action. For low level device, yes, that can have these three kind of things. One is a display, another one is sound, and another one is motor action. Okay, so this is the part of input, processing, output. And on the top, yes, there is a communication device. In this current world, no device exists without having any communication device, the communication part. So I used communication at the top, but for having or for communicating, of course we need interfacing unit. Okay, and at the bottom you can see there is a power unit, but this power unit is divided with some dotted line. Why? Because it can be a single power unit for everything, or it can be just one power unit. It can have different power unit for different part. Like for our computing system or for our computer, we are using similar, just one power unit, like 220 volt. But for our Mongol project, we use three different kind of power units. Like for driving the motors, we are using one heavy duty power unit. Okay, because when it runs the motor at the beginning, it installs huge current. Okay, when it installs huge current, at the time voltage drop. So when voltage drop, processing unit restart. Okay, so to save our processing unit or to avoid restarting, we use another different separate power system for the processing device. Okay, or for the computer. Okay, and the same way for communication, it needs a constant current, constant voltage or constant power. Okay, otherwise it will fluctuate. Okay, so for communication module we use different power unit. That's why I'm saying dotted. Okay, it can be the same one, it can be the different one. So this is the hardware interfacing architecture of a computing system. Okay, computer architecture. Keep in your mind, we will have some questions on it. This is our course outline. So in this semester we are going to discuss about these issues. Firstly, computer interfacing, introduction to computer interfacing. Then the computer interfacing IC, as I told you, 82355. Then we are going to cover low-level programming language, because some of you may have afraid low-level programming language like C. If you think maybe this is very complicated, but I would like to show you this is a very simple programming language like Java or other programming other languages. Okay, and then the technique of the sensors and sensing, how to sense the environment. Okay, so we are going to discuss about the techniques. Like one technique is by material and another technique is by engineering. So we are going to discuss about both of these things. Okay, and then we are going to discuss about the concept of hardware for output device. Okay, how we can run a motor, how we can run a display unit. Okay, these kind of things we are going to cover, or how we can run a hard disk, something like this. Okay, so we are going to discuss about these issues. And then recently added processing units like Raspberry Pi, okay, BeagleBoard, this kind of things arrived very recently. So what is the architecture of this kind of systems, or how these systems work? We're going to discuss this thing. Oh, also we are also going to discuss GPIO, and then some recent things like human-computer interaction, brain-computer interfacing. We are going to also discuss about the issues. Okay, and lastly, you have to implement a project. Okay, I don't know what will happen in this situation. If the situation become all right, then you have to make your project in a group. In that case, we want the high level project. Okay, like you can understand, we want a bit good project. Okay, but if this situation continues for a long time, you cannot come outside from your home, then maybe I would recommend you will buy some components from the online store, and then you will make a simple project. You can show us so that we can understand. Yes, you could understand how to interface the sensors with the computing system. Okay, so here is the outline of your project. What you have to do, you can understand. First you have to design the project, then implement your project, then you have to write a report, and then you have to make a demo presentation, and then you have to submit it, and you have to put it online. Okay, so that we can understand, or we can evaluate you. Okay, so this is my communication information. You can contact with me in this way. I have phone number, I have email address, I have WhatsApp. Okay, this is the mass distribution. My proper planning, I'm planning in this way, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to follow this system or not. because the situation is changing. Maybe we will give more emphasis on your assignments, okay, less emphasis on your quiz. So I don't know how the mark distribution will be at the end, but this is my proposed marks distribution. I can discuss with you later about it, okay. And not only for this class, yeah, here are some quizzes you have to answer now, but this kind of quizzes will be with your every classes, okay. So thank you very much for attending the class.